2025 has been another really great year for video games with tons of new releases. I don't know about you, but I don't have any money. This isn't some rant about how games have gotten more expensive. Everything has gotten more expensive, and so we have to pick and choose. We can't just buy every new game out there. And one of those choices can be to play old games. It's a thing that has been buried under all the bad news about how computer parts have got more and more expensive, first due to tariffs and now due to the RAM shortage. But 2025 has been a tremendous year for retro gaming. China cranking out a plethora of handhelds that can run almost any game up to and including the PlayStation 2. Out of the UK, you have the fine folks at Evercade who are putting out curated cartridges of classic games and hidden gems. And enthusiasts have done a tremendous job of making old games run on modern computers, both in an official and unofficial capacity. There's never been a better time to play video games. With the prices on everything, it's also been a great year to dig into the old backlog. And this is also something I've steadily been chipping away at throughout 2025. So with that in mind, here's my 3 random games of the year that I've been playing 2025. Here's an impulse play that quickly turned into one of my favorite games of the year, Operation Winback. Or just Winback. I like Operation Winback though. It makes it sound more like what the game actually is, rather than some kind of brand of window cleaner. It would be like if Operation Wolf was just named Wolf. This isn't just a third-person shooter, it's the first third-person shooter on the Nintendo 64, if you can believe it. And here I'm playing it on the Nintendo Switch 2 via the Nintendo Switch online service. This was just one I started up randomly one day, and the more I played, the more hooked I got. I own a cartridge of this as well, which I bought some years ago when I was collecting for the Nintendo 64. And I was trying to remember why it didn't grab me back then as it did today. So I fired it up on the original hardware and discovered that it just runs like ass. Especially in these outside areas. The frame rate just takes an absolute nosedive. But on the Switch, the emulator powers through and always runs the game at full speed and with improved resolution. Reasons why this isn't being revered as the forefather of the third-person shooter might be because the graphics are pretty drab, and the story revolving around terrorists seizing control of an orbital laser satellite is pretty forgettable as well. But it is the methodical gameplay that makes it a joy to play, once you put some time into it at least. Encounters get pretty predictable after a while. You run up to a box or a corner to take cover, and then you can be pretty sure that enemies are going to pop out somewhere in front of you, which you can then engage in satisfying gunfights. See, Operation Winback nails something which the more well-known Gears of War never got right: hit reaction. In Gears you can dump full magazines into enemies and just see them drop into ragdoll mode, but in Operation Winback enemies will actually recoil from getting hit. And if you land a headshot, you can usually also take them down with a single shot. It's a lot less bullet SpongeBob and a lot more Virtua Cop. Operation Winback is a game that I would categorize as strangely compelling. It's certainly one that I keep coming back to when I got 20 minutes to kill on the Switch 2. Cutscenes are easy to skip and you don't get any walk and talk segments like in modern games. In fact, the game kinda goes out of its way to make sure you never teamed up with anyone, with every convenient writing trick in the book. Meet up with a teammate and you can almost be sure that someone suggests that you split up, someone just runs off on their own, or someone gets shot. There are no liabilities in Operation Winback, it's just straight into the action. A real pick up and play game.
You don't want to go any further. It's dangerous. My friends are all dead. They were all murdered by people that look like this. I have been chosen.
Oh, shit. There's more than 14. Those bastards are breeding.
One of the games that impressed me the most in 2025 was Killer 7. This is another one I've meant to get around to for a while now. I've bought it 3 times and somehow ended up playing the worst version because I really didn't do any prep work. I just popped it on and started playing one day, and let me tell you, you will want to avoid the PlayStation 2 version because it just has a ton of slowdown and annoying audio bugs. What you're watching here is the GameCube version because it was just so much easier for me to capture. But there is of course also a Steam version that looks super crisp and has some really nice quality of life improvements. If you're not familiar with Killer 7, it's a surreal political assassination story about Harmon Smith, an old man who can manifest 7 different personas, each acting as an assassin with unique abilities. They are thrown into a shadow war between the US and Japan while fighting the Heaven Smiles, a cult-like terrorist threat created by Harmon's supernatural rival, Kun Lan, and what starts as a political thriller slowly becomes a mythic conflict between order and chaos, with the Killer 7 acting as the ghosts and weapons of that eternal battle. Now, in typical Grasshopper manufacturer style, this game is cool. Let me explain to you how cool it is, just with a story I've never really told anyone before. When I was about 12 or 13, I played a bunch of point-and-click adventure games like Zack McCracken, Maniac Mansion, and Leisure Suit Larry. And sometimes I would just walk around in real life, look at things, and pretend like I had something funny to say about them in my head. Not out loud like the characters in the game, just in my head. Throughout the years, I've come to learn that this is a shared experience. Even if not everyone will admit it, I know that a lot of gamers will at some point in their life have played something that influenced their behavior, way of speaking, or maybe even way of dressing. Killer 7 is one such game. It's cool in a way that would have hit like crack cocaine if I had played it at a formative age. I know this because I can see its fingerprints all over YouTube creators that I admire today. Once you've played Killer 7, a lot of things will just click into place, trust me on this. The game just feels incredibly adult, not merely because of its violence and sexuality, but because of its underlying political drama paired with Suda51's signature nonchalant relationship with human life. It obviously also looks cool, as you can tell from having looked at it for a while, both in the strong characters designs and stellar interpretations of the real spaces. I can also see why some people might completely bounce off Killer 7, not really vibing with its style or weird presentation. Personally, I was so impressed that I decided to check out 2 other Grasshopper games from the backlog, the Silver Case and Flower, Sun and Rain. The Silver Case simply wasn't weird enough early enough for me, and the puzzles in Flower, Sun and Rain were too hard. I might return to that one with a guide at a later point though. The thing about Grasshopper's games is that they're all connected. For instance, there's an Edo McAllister in Killer 7, which I immediately recognized upon playing the early parts of Flower, Sun and Rain. And if you've played No More Heroes, Travis Strikes Again, you'll also recognize one of the Killer 7, Dan Smith, from the intro. This connective tissue alone makes it worth checking out the rest of Grasshopper manufacturers' games, and I certainly know that I will get into them in 2026. Anyway, Killer 7 gets a 7 out of 7. It strikes a fantastic balance between gameplay and style. I've played all the No More Heroes games, and I won't pretend that they haven't been carried by their style, especially the third game. But Killer 7 is one that I think everyone should give a shot, because it's simply just that cool, both to look at, to listen to, and to play.
This does it.
Welcome to bonus stage.
I was so close to becoming the ultimate ninja!
Have at you then, you dirty bastard!
Right on, brother. I admire your staunch tenacity and strength of spirit. But picking unwinnable battles, now that's gutsy.
My actual game of the year, which actually came out this year, is without a question Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. This is very much another entry in the series with an unapologetically and habitually reuse of many assets from the entries before it. But Sega always adds so much stuff for each iteration, like for instance an entire freaking naval battle system, that it's completely forgivable. The real reason why the Like a Dragon series continues to click with me year after year is its sincerity. It's always stories about how powerful middle-aged men are using their muscles to do the right thing, with such a sense of justice that I cannot help getting moved by it every time. To me, Pirate Yakuza did it exceptionally well, giving one of the series' major characters amnesia, leaving him stranded on an island outside Hawaii, and immediately getting into fisticuffs with the local bullies when he sees them picking on a kid called Noah. A few things happens, and before you know it, our protagonist, Goro Majima, has become a pirate captain. I'm being a bit cagey about the story to avoid spoilers, but needless to say, it's another tale that starts small and evolves into a much greater adventure with high stakes, as is par for the series. Usually, it's not the main story that sticks with me, it's all the small, goofy side quests that often show the real heart of the game, getting protagonists willingly or unwillingly roped into all kinds of hijinks. Building on the previous entries also means that this is a massive game. There's lots of stuff to see and do. I think I've probably spent hours alone just walking around and just looking at the graphics. Being iterative also means that there's a ton of fan service and returning characters, but playing as an amnesiac does give you a blank slate that allows you to start with Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, even if you haven't really played any of the other games in the series. Although I probably would recommend anyone and everyone interested in the franchise to begin their journey with Yakuza 0. Not just because it's a prequel, but because it's simply just a great game overall. Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii is absolutely feel-good game of the year, much like every Like a Dragon game before it has been, and I love it. I don't think I'll ever get tired of playing as a powerful character who does the right thing in a video game, and I cannot wait for Yakuza Kiwami 3 to come out in early 2026. Which already looks to be a packed year full of games to look forward to. Thank you for watching, and have a happy new year.
A new day, everybody! Get to the top!